Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a chilled out, good old-fashioned repot and chat. I don't have a ton of plants to repot right now. I've been trying to keep on top of watering, repotting, chopping plants down that are out of control, and like I mentioned last week, I did a big cleanup in here. But I do have a few plants that are just struggling a little bit. They're not growing, they're kind of like stuck in time, or when they do grow, the leaves aren't looking so good. So I think they need a bit of like a boost, a little bit of restart, a little bit of a helping hand. So it's just 4 plants today. Quick little repot. I don't have a ton of time. If you follow me on Instagram, or if Instagram even shows you my posts, you might know that we just got a puppy. He's been with us for like this is day 3 of puppy, and he's 9 weeks old? No, 10 weeks old. He's 10 weeks old now, as if I wasn't busy enough, but puppy is here. I just put him down for a nap, and we're crate training at the moment, which if you know crate training, you know how long that takes. So I have a small window of time. My boyfriend's working from home downstairs. I can do my filming and then we're gonna like tag out. So I'm gonna show you the plants and we're just gonna get to work. Just gonna be a quick little one today. So it's all anthuriums today. The first one is this subsignatum papilolaminum from Amanda. It's not terrible. This is probably the one that's like the most kind of on the upswing, but it's not looking amazing either. I have a lot of trouble getting leaves to kind of like form symmetrically, form fully. This is the newest leaf. It's almost fully hardened off, but you can kind of see how wonky it is, but the sinus is to die for. I had the most trouble rooting this plant when I got it from Amanda. She said it is kind of a little bit of finicky one. Like she has like ones that are easy and then ones that aren't. I want to say this plant was originally hybridized by Tyler Russo Plants. I've seen his photos on Facebook and they're like just beautiful, magnificent. Like he's obviously much more talented than I am at growing plants, but I think we can get it there. So eventually it took quite a long time. I want to say it took maybe more than 6 months to get this to root, and I have it in tree fern mixed with like perlite and pond, and it is really well rooted now. I think it can probably do with a bit of an upsize, and also all these little root nublets up at the stem, they're looking for a little moisture. So I want to get it into something a little bit taller and fill it up, and I think it's looking like it's lacking a bit of nutrition. So I think I'm going to get it into tree fern with soil mixed in and give it a little bit of boost with myco. And I think I want to start being more on top of using the TPS liquid soil. I've done I think half of my plants in this room with the watering. If you don't know, TPS liquid soil is just like a host of beneficial bacteria that's meant to like kind of like revitalize, bring life back to your soil and just get the kind of microbiome moving again. So that's the plan with this one. Another Amanda plant, I haven't shown this often. This is my little magnificum. This one is in pond. It's not really well rooted, and it got hit with spider mites and it constantly dries out. I don't think that it loves being in pond, and also it lives in this exo here, which is on the lower humidity side. It's quite close to the light. It uses up a lot of the water, and I just can't keep on top of the watering. So I want to get it into something a little bit more water retentive, and just based on like how little roots I see on the side, there's only like a little bit here, and it's been living in here for quite a long time. I just don't think that it's the substrate for it. So I think this one is also going to go into tree fern soil. Tree fern for me helps plants root a lot, but then the soil part of it, that combo, I've said it so many times, it works really well for my anthuriums. So that will also be a little bit more water retentive and just be able to kind of support the growth a little bit better. Like look at the newest leaf. This is fully hardened. It does not like being in the substrate. I don't think it has spider mites anymore. I've treated it fairly recently. Actually, with spider mites, this is kind of aside from this repot, but the Dr. Doom spider mite knockout has been really good for just kind of killing the spider mites and smothering them. I don't know that the active chemical in there, I'm pretty sure it's pyrethrin. I don't know that it's super beneficial for like wiping out spider mites. It definitely helps to maintain them. Like Safer's Endol uses permethrin as well. I really think it's that like lotiony, oily stuff in spider mite knockout that like just suffocates them and prevents them from growing back. And it also makes plants look really nice, especially glossy plants like philodendrons. It gives you that like new leaf shine. Not glossy, not oily looking. It just has that new leaf like glow, you know? It's really like putting lotion on. So I don't think that spider mites are currently on this plant, but it's not happy. Like you can see, this is the newest leaf and that popped out of an axillary bud. Like it stopped growing from the top. I don't think that the top growth got broken. I just think that maybe it died off and it's not starting it back up again at the top. But yeah, it's probably gonna go into something similar size because it doesn't have a ton of roots, but just get it out of pond, I think. Third plant is going to be my Anthurium Ace of Spades green form. It's not doing terribly. There is a bit of rot in the roots. There's also like plenty of like healthy root growth, and it is actively growing other healthy roots. But yeah, there's definitely a bit of rot, you can see here. And I found this rot on the plant when I came back from my holidays in July. So it's been a few months, but usually when I see a bit of root rot, I don't immediately jump to rescue the plant, cut off roots and do the whole root rot treatment, because I find when you use beneficial bacteria and things like that, which is in Great White, which all my plants get, sometimes the root rot just kind of like takes care of itself. Like the bacteria break it down and the healthy roots continue to grow. So I just look at the plant and see what it's telling me. So in this case, some spider mite damage happened. The leaves aren't like actively declining a lot. This is the oldest leaf on it, the first leaf that I grew. The newest leaf hardened off nicely. You know, it's like a nice shape. There's only spider mite damage on it, but it's not growing. Like in the time since the last leaf, this one would have been put out in sometime in July while I was away. It hasn't grown anything. It definitely should have grown a leaf by now. And I've been watching the caterpillar and it's just not moving. Nothing's happening other than a little bit of root growth. So I want to keep it in pond. I just want to do a bit of root rot treatment on this one. I think that it does like the pond. It rooted really well in the pond. It just, I don't know, maybe I let it get too dry and then like kind of flushed it with water a little bit too late. So that's just gonna be a root rot treatment. And then lastly, this is my only dark form queen. This was grown from a chunk with no leaves. This was from Erin and it has 2 growth points, which I want to kind of keep it together, I think. If it just falls apart, I might separate them, but this is another one of those pond situations where it just dries out too much. I'm always finding it looking like spinach and then I rehydrate it and it perks back up, but this kind of damage happens, you know. I've got some leaf droppage. For the age that this is, it should be a lot bigger, but it's not. And I think that this could also benefit from tree fern soil, a bit more water retentive, a bit more nutritious, and a bigger, probably a slightly bigger pot. The roots aren't like completely taking over, but it has kind of filled out this pot. I really like the dark form queen. I would love if this could grow nicely in pond, but it's just not. And this new leaf has given me hope. It has inspired me to get into something nicer. I actually feel like based on what the stem looks like, these are just going to fall off of each other and separate itself. So maybe I'll have 2 to grow after this repot. Pot-wise, for the pond plants, how many pond plants are there? 1. Dang it. Okay. Yeah, though that's fine. Pond plants I will do just in another deli cup, like this, straight swap. The non-pond plants, I'm going to use like a drainage pot and do that deli cup method, which is like having a little short deli cup as a reservoir. Even if I'm not keeping a reservoir, I find it kind of useful to have these like deep saucers because I don't like the spillage out from saucers when I like try to hydrate a really dry plant and then like it's not fully hydrated. I need it to kind of bottom water a little bit. So this has been like a really good setup. I tend to keep a leca layer on the bottom if I want to do this setup, but I'm pretty much out of leca again. So we're gonna do pon as a leca layer. Okay, let's get set up here. I think we're gonna start with the ace because it's my only pon plant that's staying in pon. Then we'll move on to the other ones. Look at the size of the chong on this guy. This was originally from Lauren. There's not as many roots as I thought there would be. Just gonna be chopping off the dib, guys. Okay, so puppy. Doug, came home with us 2 days ago. So we spent the weekend together. We kind of cleared our schedules. Not kind of, we completely cleared our schedules. Today is the first day where we're trying to like balance being working people. We're just trying to work it out. And I'm gonna just be like totally honest with you guys in case there's anyone who's like looking to get a puppy or like looking to get a French bulldog. This is not obviously not our first rodeo. Like we got Huxley as a puppy, although he was 12 weeks when we got him. So it's only just a difference of 2 weeks, but those 2 weeks can make quite a big difference. So when we first got Huxley was in 2018. 2019 in like February, like at the beginning of the year. So now this year he's going to be 5. So it's been a little while since we've had a puppy. And okay, so like just rewind why we got a puppy in the first place. My boyfriend, he can never have enough dogs. Like he's that kind of person who just wants more and more dogs. His life can fully revolve around a dog and he'll be perfectly happy. So the reason why we got Doug was because of my boyfriend. Obviously I love dogs and I love Frenchies. They're just such a good match for like our lifestyle and our general energy level and our activity level. And they're hilarious, and Huxley is like the love of my life. And I also feel like we're pretty well equipped after having Huxley. I thought I saw a spider mite. So I wasn't objecting to having a puppy by any stretch. It's just like I probably wouldn't have like pushed us to get a dog if he wasn't so obsessed with the idea. But I also would not have agreed to a dog if I wasn't like 100% on board with the dog. So that's where the dog idea came up. I know it feels kind of sudden for some people, especially like my family. They're like, you're getting a dog? What do you mean you're getting a dog? But it doesn't really feel sudden for me because it's always a topic of conversation. So I'm just moving this here so it's a little bit easier to talk to you guys. So it's definitely not a sudden thing for us because we're always talking about it. He's grown up with dogs his whole life and he's never really had bull breeds until he kind of moved out on his own. So we actually have 3 dogs at this point. Nobody really knows about our oldest. His name is Rick. He's an English bulldog. He's not like a true Old English bulldog, but he kind of resembles an Old English. So he's like quite tall, really long-limbed, slightly longer snout, and just like a tall dog. So he's a senior dog now. He doesn't get shown much because he literally just sleeps all day. He's 10 years old. And that's my boyfriend's first dog that he got before we met. And we got Huxley together. So Huxley was my first dog, my first puppy. Like I had lived with Rick before we got Huxley, so it wasn't like, I guess he's not my first dog. This one is done, by the way. This one was just like a really quick thing. I'm not even doing like the whole hydrogen peroxide thing because I don't want to kill the bacteria and stuff. Actually, I might not totally do that. Let me fill in some gaps. Yeah, because I'm going to be using Great White and like the liquid soil, the TPS liquid soil, I'm going to just like leave it without using the hydrogen peroxide thing. Because it's not like a total rehab situation. I think that's just pretty much the only thing I'm gonna do. It hasn't been like, you know, a million years since we had a puppy, and we really felt prepared in bringing Doug home. What he's gonna be needing and the structure that we're gonna need to have, and I felt like our expectations are pretty aligned to what a puppy would, like new puppy life would be like. There are some dead roots on this one. You could see it just like completely dried out, and then it just like deflated and dried. So cut that off. Far less roots than I would like on this plant. So we're going to keep it in a smaller pot. Is this too big? Because the next size down is going to be snug. And I don't love to pot plants this snug anymore just because of like my watering habits. So we're gonna go big. Little bit of a pond layer, which I wish was leca, but we don't have that. I need to mix up a little bit of tree fern with soil, which I wish I had another bowl here, but I only brought one, and I can't go back downstairs because I'm gonna wake up. I can't go back downstairs because I'm gonna wake up Doug if I do, so we're gonna mix little batches of it inside of a deli cup. Bit of tree fern, bit of soil. I'm just going to mix it by hand. So when we had Huxley, we lived in an apartment. It was only on the second floor? Yeah, second floor. And so it wasn't like super inconvenient for potty training and stuff like that, but we were both also working full time at our previous jobs. I knew it was not going to be as difficult as Huxley was, having like bringing Doug home. We just like, there was so many challenges with Huxley that we weren't expecting. So we got Huxley, we were working full time, and at the time my job was like so demanding. I was essentially doing the job of 2 people, and then about 2 or 3 weeks after getting Huxley, my boyfriend had to go back to the UK for a family emergency, so I was alone with Huxley, still working full time, but because we worked together at that time, when he had to like suddenly leave, I had to absorb a lot of the things that he had going on. So I was doing his job, my job, and then trying to raise this puppy and potty train and stuff, and we were like really adamant about not doing potty training in steps, and we just wanted to do it once and get it over with. So we weren't doing the pee pads. We had some like for insurance, but we were doing the alarm thing, waking up in the middle of the night at that point it was every 3 or 4 hours, taking him downstairs, potty, go back up. In fairness to Huxley though, he was quite a confident dog. He kind of just rolled with the punches a lot. So what I would do was do the whole middle of the night thing. So I had to go to bed at 10 o'clock when he goes to bed, try to sleep for a few hours, get up at around 2 a.m., take him outside, and then I'd be up for work at around 5 or 6. So that's when you do another potty, and then, you know, have breakfast, which puppies takes a long time, and it was a whole thing. And then I would go to work and then like rush home at around 10 or 11, take him out, rush back to work the rest of the day, come back, take him out, and like I kept that up for a couple of weeks. He had a lot of accidents in that time. I almost lost it. It was so much to do all at once. My sweatpants with a hole. These are like my I don't care sweatpants. I got a lot of help, obviously. Like if I couldn't, like if I had a really rough or like an important day where I couldn't run home in the middle of the day, my sister would come out to my house and like take Huxley out. Somehow we got through it, and somehow we finished potty training. Huxley was not easy to potty train. It took him a really long time. I think he was quite hard of a potty trainer in comparison to other dogs and how long it took them. Like it took us probably like 9 months before he stopped having accidents, but we got through it in the end, and now we have just a lovely Huxley that is like so clever, and it doesn't even feel like a dog anymore at that point. You're just like, he's part of the family, and like not in that cheesy way, but you're just like, I stopped thinking about him as like dog psychology, like what does he want from me, this like transaction thing, and like trying to like redirect and all those things that you talk about with a puppy that when you don't know each other. We're not there anymore with Huxley. He's just like, he's just one of us. So it's been a few years of just like having your guard down a little bit, so to speak. And then now we have a puppy, and you know, because we've done it before, training and all that stuff, and like having the boundaries and the structure not only to your day but the boundaries within your home, I was like, yeah, like we can do it again. We know this breed. I'm telling you guys this because like I just want to be completely honest with you. On day 2 of having Doug, so Saturday we got him in the morning, so we had all day. Sunday, yesterday, was like, it was like a kind of a total write-off because we weren't expecting to do anything with our day. We were just gonna have it be a time to get him settled and get him used to us and get used to some routine and get used to like the food and being around the dogs and stuff. One thing that really wasn't expecting was, I should probably be doing a plant while we talk. One thing I wasn't expecting was Huxley's reaction to a puppy. So Huxley he's such a nice dog. He loves everybody. He loves dogs. I mean, that's what his one big flaw is, that he can't control his excitement around dogs. So that's been like the biggest hurdle for us in his training. But I really thought he was going to be like overly excited like he is with dogs all the time. He gets just over threshold and just can't calm down. He's like super stimulated. That's what I thought it was going to be. We've dealt with that so many times before. But what ended up happening is like we had the meet outside and stuff, and Huxley was like quite inquisitive, but he was really gentle. He wasn't like jumping up on the dog. He was just like quietly sniffing him, looked really, really interested. Rick was like, oh, what's that, like it's a puppy or something? Oh, okay. Yeah, and then he just went about his day, did not ever look back, does not give a f. But Huxley was stressed. Like he was drooling uncontrollably for the whole day, to the point where, like, you know how like when dogs get really, really hot, you're like outside in the summer going on a long walk and they got that like slimy drool. Sorry if that's gross, but he was like that all day long, and that was stressing me out because I've never seen Huxley like that before. I don't love the roots on here, but I'm not even going to like attempt to get in there because there's like moss in here as well. I'm just gonna plop this whole thing into a container. So obviously I felt really bad, and like we were, as the day went on, when Huxley was trying to see like his routine is not messed up, he still goes out on walks with mom and dad by himself. He still sleeps in my bedroom with me, like Puppy doesn't. And actually my boyfriend's sleeping on the couch right now just to be with Doug. But the second day was much better, but it was just really heartbreaking for me to see Huxley so stressed. But they were playing nicely together. Puppy is like a little bit rambunctious, and he's more confident actually than I thought he would be. So I think second day he was way less drooly, like barely drooly at all. Yeah, that stressed me out a little bit, but I don't know what really happened. I wasn't really mentally prepared for these feelings, but yesterday would have been day 2 with the puppy. I like hadn't showered, I didn't even do my makeup, did nothing with my hair, was in like dirty clothes that we were like, you know, when you potty train a puppy, you take him outside, you pick him up, like you get gross stuff on you, right? So I was wearing like dirty clothes. I didn't really have much of an appetite. I just wasn't eating. I was drinking a lot of coffee, and then sometime in the afternoon I got filled with this just like overwhelming sense of like feeling trapped and like feeling paralyzed. I started to feel a little bit like I'm like a bit restless, I'm a bit anxious, and a bit like feeling cooped up, and then later just felt like I'm like almost like feeling of doom. And I was not expecting that, because that didn't happen with Huxley. And with Huxley, it happened like we had it so much more difficult with Huxley. Not that it was that difficult. Yeah, it's more difficult to potty train in an apartment building, but at the same time we weren't like 20 floors up. We were only on the 2nd floor, and Rick is like such an easy dog, so it wasn't really like having 2 dogs at that point. But I also knew that like being in a house now, it's gonna be a lot easier. Second time around, it's gonna be a lot easier. I was not expecting that level of anxiety from myself, and it just happened. And that's how I learned about the puppy blues, which I never really had to look into because I'd never experienced it. So it just wasn't something that I was like super aware of, the nuances of, or the potential ways it can manifest. That feeling of being paralyzed, that feeling of just overwhelming anxiety and some sadness and a lot of guilt for feeling sad. It didn't hit me like a ton of bricks, but it was enough to make me feel like, holy crap, what the heck is happening? And my boyfriend was like, can you just go and like sit on the couch and just relax, because you look really, really sad. And he was at the point where he's like, we need to take this dog back because like you look so incredibly sad. And to be clear, I wanted Doug. It wasn't just him wanting Doug. I wanted Doug, and I know we're going to, you know, get along just fine. He wasn't even being bad. That's the thing. He wasn't even being bad. He was being a completely normal little puppy. It was not him. It was really like the reality of the loss of freedom, I should say. And like, I think the one thing that was like stressing me out, not only was Huxley reacting in a way that like made me feel quite bad, but also, I'm just taking this leaf off, I've never had to deal with a vocal dog before, nor do I intend to have a vocal dog, and it's not his fault. It is 100% not his fault. It's like a completely normal puppy thing to like, especially like when you just came home, but to cry, whine. He does little barks when he's playing with Huxley, but nothing crazy. He's not like, you know, demand barking, shouting at me for attention, but he does cry. And like the crate training has been more challenging than Huxley's was, and he's been very vocal about it, and that the sound was starting to stress me out. And you know, like remembering that it's crate training, it's not going to happen in a day or an afternoon or a couple of times of being in the crate. He has to like slowly learn to trust it and like associate good things with it. But yeah, I'm trying to kind of rationalize why I felt the way I did, when really wasn't a super rational thing at the end of the day, because like all of the stuff I know, none of it is like new information, but it still happened, and it can happen. This one is now done, by the way, the clean. I didn't end up separating it, so it's just gonna live like this. Also, a little cup. I don't think that it's going to last a super long time. I know that sometimes when people have the puppy blues, it can last quite a long time, like up until they're past the adolescent stage, but I think I'm gonna be okay. I just wanted to share a bit of like, you know, it's not all cute snuggly puppies, and like he's so cute. I can't even tell you how cute he is, and he's quite sweet. And it is, again, nothing that he did. It's just, I think it's really just me. And I was trying to figure out why I was feeling the way I did, and kind of explain it to my boyfriend, because he was like feeling all sorts of guilt. He's like, oh, I forced you into this. Like I'm making you feel sad, and it really wasn't him. I was trying to, I guess, like figure it out for myself as well. And I think it's because like this year has been filled with so much uncertainty after like leaving my job and not having a stable like salary job. This very unpredictable puppy is now here, which I obviously knew it was going to be like that, but it's just different when you're in the situation and it's like the reality of it, and you're like, I want to do something, I want to go and do laundry, or I want to go film, or I want to go edit, or I want to go and spend a couple hours watering and doing plant care, but you can't because everything you do has to kind of revolve around the schedule of the puppy, and he needs to go out. If he's like out and playing, he needs to go out for a potty like every 20 minutes. If he is sleeping, then you need to, you know, make sure he sleeps, but then like get him up and like potty and then feeding time and stuff like that. We've been adjusting a lot of our daily life around the puppy, which I know is going to be worth it. What we ended up doing, for me to feel better, just in the moment yesterday, I did what I always do, which is put on a Christmas movie. So we put on Home Alone, made some tea. He was kind of settling in for the night, so like he was kind of like winding down, I should say. He was, you know, getting out his nighttime energy. He's kind of getting sleepy. He just like laid on my boyfriend and we watched Home Alone. He was actually watching Home Alone. He was very interested in Harry, or like Joe Pesci's character. It was a really nice time. And then also another thing that made me feel a lot better, because like even though I've lived with dogs for like 6 years at this point, I didn't grow up with dogs. I didn't raise like a bunch of dogs from puppyhood. So it's nice to get some perspective. I was worried that Doug was going to be a very vocal dog, like barking, and like I was like worried about how we're going to condition him to not use his voice all the time, which is just like a personal preference thing. Some people are totally fine with dogs barking, and I am to an extent. Like when Huxley does those warning barks, or like play barks, he actually doesn't even do play barks. He only does the warning barks when like a person comes to the door, or if he hears someone coming in the door, he'll do like a quick bark. Just mixing up this substrate. I don't mind that at all. I actually quite like it. I like having him be able to like express that someone's here and in his face. But I am not okay with a dog that barks at me for attention and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, because like Huxley didn't have any of this when he was a puppy. Like, is he going to be like that? And he was telling me, so Rick is, you wouldn't even know he was there half the time. He's just so quiet. He just gets up to eat, gets up to do his business, gets up barely ever. He's quite the senior dog at this point. But like, for as long as I've known him, he hasn't really been a barker at all. He only used to bark a little bit when we left the house. So he'll do like a couple of barks to express that he's not happy, but that's basically it. He's just a no fuss, the easiest dog you could ever imagine. And he was telling me like when Rick was a puppy, which I didn't know him at that point, like he was a whiny, barky, like very vocal dog, and he's like, that's just because of Rick and Huxley. Doug should kind of learn, and should learn that that's not how we communicate in this household. Yeah, I just needed some perspective. And like after hearing that Rick was a screaming whiny puppy, which I didn't know. I don't know why, that was never a topic of conversation of like how barky he was as a baby. But that definitely made me feel a lot better, and Home Alone made me feel a lot better. Does anybody else watch Christmas movies to cheer them up? I watch Christmas movies when I'm feeling sad, first of all, and also when I'm feeling too hot. If I'm like just sweating and like we're in a heat wave and I just feel like there's nothing I can do to cool down, I will put on a Christmas movie so my eyeballs can cool down by like looking at the snow. And there's just nothing more feel good to me than a Christmas movie and Christmas music. So yeah, I feel so much better now. it just kind of threw me for a loop, that's all. I was not expecting to feel that way, but we're all good. Don't worry. So yeah, hopefully I can give you guys some Dougie updates. I will post like more of it on our Discord. So if you haven't joined that yet, I will link it in the description. But if you're coming across this video late, that link's probably not gonna work. The link only works for like a couple of weeks, I think, or maybe a week before it expires, and then I have to generate a new link. So only if it's like within a week of this video going up will that link be active. But in any case, come join our Discord. I don't know if you can search it. It's called Alvin and Sherman's server. But yeah, I'll definitely give you guys puppy updates. I really hope that no one listens to my little story and thinks that I am like ill-prepared and don't love this dog and we're not gonna bond and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. I truly feel like we were prepared. The only one thing we didn't prepare, and we just didn't think about it, is that we didn't get a gate, like an additional gate to close off the kitchen. So right now we want Doug to kind of be confined to the kitchen. His crate's in there. We don't want him to have free roam of the main floor. He's not allowed upstairs, not allowed downstairs, and even right now he's not allowed outside because he's only had his first shot, so we can't even do potty training outside. We're doing potty training on like pee pads on our balcony, which I hate. I hate it so much. So I'm like really looking forward to when he gets his second round of shots so that we can actually take him outside and do his business properly. But yeah, like that's the only thing we didn't prepare. The gate's gonna come today, and we'll be able to keep him in there. We'll be able to keep like Huxley out of the kitchen if he needs to sleep, and like we don't want him waking him up, or like we can also keep Huxley in there with him if they're playing. And because Huxley does this thing where if he's playing with another dog and like they're playing keep away with the toys and stuff, Huxley knows that he can jump really high and that other dogs can't quite jump as high as him. So he did the same with Pudge when Pudge stayed with us one weekend. Like if he had a toy that Pudge wanted to get and he was chasing him, whatever, Huxley would jump up on this like bay window kind of seating area that I have, and he knows that Pudge can't get up there. So that's what he wants to do. He'll like grab a toy and just book it, and then I don't want him, I don't want Doug chasing Huxley out into the living room and then like Doug having an accident. Yeah, once that gate comes, it's going to solve so many issues of us just be able to like, if I wanted to just work in the kitchen, I could theoretically have Doug out, you know, supervised, but he can't get out into the main living area and stuff like that. So I'm just like counting the minutes until the delivery driver comes with my gate, because it's going to be life-changing. But I'm like very much looking forward to when he can like take treats. Not that he can't take treats right now, but he's just like, his tiny little mouth and like weak little jaw just can't chew a lot of stuff, and he just doesn't seem that interested. He's just more toy motivated right now. But I really want to maybe in a week or two, when he starts to get a little bit more interested in treats and be able to like chew treats properly, I can get into like the bulk of the training part, because that was one thing that I feel like I got a lot of enjoyment out of, is just every day having these little training sessions and teaching them something new and like just reinforce it every day. Right now, it's just like I can't hold his attention for more than 2 seconds. But yeah, first weekend with puppy wasn't what I expected, but it's gonna turn around and we're gonna be best friends. I know it. Okay, quick recap, starting with the subsignatum pappy. It is now in no drainage with a pond layer at the bottom. The mixture of tree fern and soil up here. I've done tree fern and soil, no drainage. It's been fine, but I do have to be a little bit more careful with the watering because it's gonna be more wet than a just pure tree fern mix. But fingers crossed, it starts to root up at the like upper part of the stem, and it just starts to do better things. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. Green form ace of spades was the easiest one. I just chopped off the dead roots, got it back into pond, fresh pond, slightly different composition pond, but still pond nonetheless. And this one's gonna go back into my tent. All the plants are gonna get watered with mixture of great white and liquid soil, which I will link if I can, liquid soil in the description, but it's only available in the States. Magnificum got potted into tree fern soil with also leca at the bottom, not leca, pon at the bottom. And that's gonna go back into my exo. I'll keep it in the same spot, but I think it's going to enjoy this mix a little bit more. And last but not least, my queen. Let's make sure that this new leaf doesn't get damaged. I really want it to get big. I think because it was grown from such a baby in my conditions, it hasn't thrown a fit with like humidity things because it lives in this like tall exo right here, and it's not a very high humidity thing. I don't do anything to kind of seal in humidity or raise the humidity in any way. So it's probably just slightly higher than like the ambient humidity in this room. And it's been okay other than it doesn't get enough water. So this is definitely a better mix for keeping like moisture at the roots. So once again, this was my aeroid soil mixed in with tree fern fiber. There's like perlite and pon in there and a little pond layer at the bottom in case I want it to sit in some water. Especially like when the roots start to like root at the bottom, I like to have a bit of water in there, or the ability to, just so those roots, the escaped roots, don't completely dry out. I don't think it's gonna throw a fit, but you know, when I moved it from moss into pon, it didn't throw a fit, so I kind of doubt it's gonna throw a fit at this point, but if it does, then it's just a queen being a queen. All right, I hear some sort of commotion downstairs, so I'm going to go see what that's all about. Doug has probably woken up from his nap and actually it's probably his lunchtime now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this chilled out repot. If you did, please feel free to give this video a like. I love you so much, and I'll see you guys next week. Mwah.